This is a video about the different objects that can be used for mindfulness practice. So think back to English class when you diagrammed a sentence and the subject was usually who was taking an action, and the object was what the action was directed at or what was being observed, etc. So that's what I mean by object of your mindfulness practice. Most people first hear about mindfulness meditation as being focused on breath awareness. That is by no means the only object that you can use to focus upon. A way to think about all of the objects would be to think about your five senses and then to think about internal focus and external focus. And even at times, shifting your attention from the distress that's internal to external focus, or the reverse, if you're overwhelmed by external stimulus, going inward. So this image was just something I was playing around with to capture these different sensory awareness ways of focusing. So the breath is something that is somatic. We feel it in the body. It's something that we can hear sometimes. It is something we can follow because every breath is in the moment. And what we do is to try to let everything else that we're aware of just become passive. We don't block anything out or push anything away. We just don't react. We passively and neutrally observe. So as you would be focusing on your inhale and your exhalations, you would allow any thoughts to come into your mind and pass back out. So breath awareness can be difficult for some people because of that reason, that we all go to the worry that we won't be able to empty our mind. And unless you live in a monastery and devote quite a bit of time to it, I would venture to say it's impossible to clear your mind. And that we're not going necessarily for even calm or peace with mindfulness practice. We may be with meditation, but that's where they would overlap. Mindfulness practice is actually more about being able to note what you're observing and stay neutral, not get into fight or flight or into judgment or into fear or into evaluation or even attachment because something is really positive and we don't want to lose it. So breath awareness is somatic in that it's in the body. Kinesthetic mindfulness practice would be moving the body. So the best example would be walking meditation, where you would, for example, match your breathing to your footsteps somewhere in nature or even in your living room, somewhere where it's safe for you to not be extremely vigilant, but just focused on the rhythm of your footsteps. And kinesthetic can also include using a mandala or a mala or worry beads, as they're sometimes referred to, where you would count your breath while counting the beads on the strand. So you can also use sound, and we can use all of our senses inward, and where inward listening is, again, maybe noticing your breath or noticing your heartbeat, noticing any gurgles in your stomach, and listening out or hearing out is represented by this woman with a bell. So bells, gongs, singing bowls are all examples of how sound happens in the moment and then changes slightly over time. And we can kind of be brought to a focus. We can, there's a lot of stuff with sound healing and different resonances, different words. So a sound that is maybe a blend of in and out, I'm not sure, would be, chanting Om or different vocalizations. You can also see videos on YouTube where they talk about different megahertz or hertz of the frequency of sound. So visual, when people, close their eyes and do breath awareness, some people, not all, but those who are very visual, will use naturally occurring visualization, or you could also think of memory. My grandparents' house is long been sold, but I can walk around in my mind within their house and see almost all of it. The use of vision outward, some people will have heard of that referred to with all of the senses in distress tolerance under the skill of soothing with your five senses. But it can also be focusing. So this person is looking at a candle, which is a really interesting parallel to the breath, because every flicker is in this moment, but then constantly changing. And it's very engaging to just focus our attention on that visual. Feeling is feeling physical sensations within the body and feeling through our sense of touch, like petting an animal, or all of the other suggestions that are given in the Soothe with the Five Senses around around touch. Probably used least often in mindfulness awareness, but food mindfulness practice can have to do with the texture of, say, a raisin or whatever else you're eating as you savor the sensory input in the moment. So just wanting to give you an overview of the variety of ways that you can practice mindfulness.